each time you turn your ignition on. Hello, good morning, guys. This is Dr. Cool. Welcome back to my channel. If you're coming here for the first time, kindly subscribe to my channel and turn on your notification. And if you've done that, sit back, let's rock and roll. So in today's video edition, this is going to be like a remake of my previous video. The sound was muted due to a copyright problem. I used the music, which I thought is actually for some song, but suddenly a ghost shows up, started claiming the video, and the revenue which is supposed to be generated by the video is now being transferred to her. So I decided to mute it without knowing it's going to mute the entire video. So I've got a lot of people complaining about the video, no audio, so I decided to make this one to actually give you guys the details of what you need in that video that's actually missing. And this is going to be way more better compared to that. So if you're having automatic transmission delays before shifting, or a shift and shock, after this video you should be able to solve it. This should be able to 94% solve the problem. Based on my own experience working on different car making model, these are the common problem which I've actually seen. So consider yourself to be lucky watching this video if you have a transmission system that shift, shock, or delays before shifting. So this should be able to solve it. So the first way to fix a car automatic transmission system that delay before shifting is to scan your car and look for any error code relating to bad shift solenoid. What's a shift solenoid? A shift solenoid is a component inside the transmission system, precisely inside the valve body, that controls how the transmission fluid shift between one channel to another, making a transition of shift between shifting from gear 1, 2, 3, or 4 in reverse. So when the shift solenoid get bad, it causes a lot of problem inside the transmission system. I've actually make a video about that, so go ahead and watch it so you know if actually part of the problem which you're having. So if you find any error code related to shift solenoid being bad or not working up to the threshold parameters or lower limit not reached, then go ahead and replace very shift solenoid inside the valve body. Although some car makes and model their own way of addressing this very issue is quite easier. Like if you come to Hyundai or Acura, they know pretty much well that the shift solenoid is what people are often going to be replacing over a long duration or usage of their car. So they decided to put the shift solenoid in the outer part of the transmission system, so you don't need to venture into opening the transmission system to offset the settings which they have actually made. And so a simple replacement of this shift solenoid is going to get your car back from delay shifting, from half shifting, and this is a very common case with most Hyundai car and Acura models, where you're going to be seeing the daylight flashing. The second way to fix a transmission system that shifts rough, is to check the transmission fluid. The transmission fluid is like the blood flowing inside a human vein, so that's the same way the transmission fluid flows through different part of the transmission system, flows from the transmission catch pan drawn by the transmission pump, goes back as a high pressurized transmission fluid and controlled by the AFL valve, from there to other shift solenoid and the rest of them. So if this transmission fluid is low, then it's going to be having a poor shifting or harsh shifting, or shocking. So if you discover that it's low while checking through the dipstick or through the other systematic way of checking the Mercedes or VW, go ahead and top it off if it has not been discolorated and you're on your way 50 to 80% resolving your transmission issue. The third way to fix a transmission system that delay before shifting or shift shock or has shift is scanning the car and looking for any error code relating to transmission range sensor. The transmission range sensor is a fail-safe component which is engineered to alert the ECM when the transmission shifter have shift from park to reverse neutral and drive, or even to switch into the manual mode in transmission system. So if this transmission range sensor goes bad, it can make the transmission to shift harsh, to jerk upon shifting, or snap or delay in shifting. So if you find any code related to transmission range sensor or safety neutral switch, as the name implies, as other name, then go ahead and replace it, and you should be on your way to solving your transmission problem. The fourth way to fix automatic transmission system that delays before shifting is checking the texture of the transmission fluid of your car. The transmission fluid, obviously for most cars, is going to be a reddish wine color, and if it got bad and worn out and needed a replacement that is actually due for replacement, then the color is going to go from red wine to orange. That is the mid level that shows that is actually due for replacement, and in worst case is actually going to turn from the orange, if the driver didn't take a notice of this, into black, like a waste motor oil. So if you see it so discolored in that manner, then there lies your problem, why your transmission shift shock has shift or delay in shifting. And as soon as you replace it and flush the transmission system, because when it get that bad, you need to flush the rest of them, because if just simple replacement is not going to solve it. Why? Because a lot of them, maybe like 2-3 quarts, is going to be 2 quarts precisely or above, is going to be still remaining inside a torque converter. So you need to get those out, and using a high pressurized air is not recommended. It's not going to solve the problem completely, but rather escalate the problem the other way around. The fifth way to fix a transmission delay in shift shock or shift snap is scanning your car and you looking for any U01 error code series. This is going to be talking about a loss of communication with transmission control module, which in most cases 95% chance the transmission control module is offline and not overseen or controlling the transmission system. So when the transmission control module is offline, it's more like when the ECM is offline. When you're trying to start up your car, the car is gonna crank and it's not gonna start. So in this case, when the transmission control module, especially for most cars that are not Toyota or that are not Ford, that uses PCM instead of ECU, if you're using PCM, then definitely for you to find that code, I mean, if the PCM is offline, the car is not going to start and the transmission is not going to shift. But if suppose it's, your car is configured to use a ECM, then the car is going to start, but it's not going to shift due to the fact that the TCM is offline. And a common blown fuse, a bad relay, a bad wiring, a bad connector can actually be responsible for that. So as soon as you find it and get it done and get the ECM back online, you should be able to resolve the problem of shift snapping, shift shocking, or banging into gear, your transmission banging into gear when it shifts to another gear. The sixth way to fix a transmission delay in shifting or harsh shifting is scanning your car and looking for any sensor OSS. OSS simplifies output shaft speed sensor. I've come across this problem in different car makes and model. They're technically the same. If you look at this, if you're the kind of person who have or mechanic who have deal with different car make and model, dependent in a independent of their car, independent of their brand, you understand that technically speaking, every train transmission system is having a lot in similarity. We're talking about almost like 90, 80 to 90% similarity. Most often times, the company that actually manufactures transmission systems are copying each other just the same way the automotive industries are copying each other. So you're going to be seeing a lot of similarities in their behavioral pattern when this transmission system started to go bad or start to develop any problem. But though, notwithstanding, when you're having this doesn't mean that this transmission system is bad. But getting into a wrong hand could be even worse, where they get a transmission system apart and tear it and charge you a huge amount, especially the dealership and some of the fancy shops, right? For a lot of you guys who most oftentimes believe that a tree shade mechanic don't know a damn thing, well, it's going to be shocking to you that 80% of transmission failure is not actually coming from a transmission part that is bad, internal component failure, but a sensor related problem, which most often times can be either outside or the first entrance into the transmission system. If you're opening the underneath, the transmission catch pan where the valve body is located is where you could be seeing this and not needing to tear it down, or the torque converter or the pump. So typically that is what it is about the OSS. And 7 way to resolve automatic transmission delay in shifting or hard shifting or getting stuck in some certain gear is a bad VSS. VSS is simply means vehicle speed sensor. So a very simple way to know if your VSS is in a very good condition is taking a look at your cluster. If the bigger guy needle is not reading, the miles per hour reading that is standing right in front of you is not reading, then there is every tendency that the VSS is bad, or this VSS could be in good condition, but it's not getting power to it. And most VSS is going to be having 3 wires running to it. We have the ground on the extreme end one, the other extreme end is going to be the 12 volts supplied, and in the middle we're going to be having a 5 volts reference going to the ECM to tell how much revolution that very sensor is making in order to use it to know the speed at which the car is traveling, to be able to alert the TCM. If it is a PCM, that's going to uses that information very well. But if it is the TCM, is going to also relay that information to the ECU because it needs an information from the throttle position sensor. So guys, this is technically what it is when it comes to the VSS vehicle speed sensor. When it gets bad, you often have those kind of herky-jerky transmission system. Then the 8th way to fix a transmission system that has shifts or should shift is a bad ABS wheel sensor. For most of you who see the ABS wheel sensor and you say, no, it's only for the ABS, I don't give a shit, it can park in there. Well, that time has gone, because these days there are a lot of auto manufacturers that are switching and not reducing a lot of sensors in the car. And I found it in a 2014 Toyota model which I just fixed up recently, and it's having a rough shift. And in this case here, there is the bigger clock, the bigger cluster gauge that read the mile per hour is not reading, is dead. I mean, confirm K. And here, immediately when I saw it, and I started telling the customer that this your car here, he said the speed clock is not moving. I said, wow, it's not moving. So definitely your transmission system is having a problem. It's jerking, is on the, on the selecting gear. Sometimes when you're driving in the hill, it will not upshift. It will not upshift very fast as it's supposed to. It will not downshift fast. And when it downshifts, sometimes it jams. He said, yeah. So kind of start looking at me like as if I'm a prophet, but that's not a prophet. He never knew that it's actually tons of experience working in different car makes and model, and that's what I'm giving you guys today for free without paying a dime. So go ahead and fix your ABS wheel sensor. And it's not only Toyota, I've seen it in some other car make like Peugeot 407 and some other newer models of it. They utilizes the ABS wheel sensor also to feed the TCM about how fast or smooth the car is going, and uses that to make a proper shifting of the transmission system. Now the last one here is a bad throttle position sensor. The throttle position sensor, most of you guys will know, or bad throttle body is often one of the sensitive component inside the automotive system, which the ECM or the PCM uses to know how much pressure which you depress on the gas pedal. Now, when you talk about the transmission system or smooth operation of your transmission system, it cannot go without the TCM or PCM knowing how much pressure you depress on the gas pedal, because the pressure which you depress on the gas pedal is proportional to the shifting of any gear which your car is running, whether you like it or not. So these two guys are interconnected. So when you have a defective throttle position sensor or throttle body in your car, for most VW cars and most European cars, or even newer model Toyota cars out there, throttle position sensor is encapsulated inside the throttle body, and you're going to be having a jerky, hecky transmission, rough shifting. Now that you know 9 ways to fix a hecky, jerky, delay in shifting, snap shifting, banging into gears, the last one here is a bad transmission motor mount. The bad motor mount there, which is going to make it the 10th way to solve it, is a broken motor mount, especially the one within the vertical axis. You're going to be having 2 in the horizontal axis, going to be having 1 in the vertical axis. Most of the time it's going to be right on the beside the crankcase. So you need to check that very well. Check that very motor mount that is close to the crankcase, because this motor mount is actually engineered to hold your engine in place as much as the transmission each time your car shifts from any soft gear to harder gears, powerful gears to lower gears. So when it goes bad, you're gonna experience a serious hitting, all right, kind of harsh shifting, rough shifting in your transmission system. I remain Dr. Fix. Do give this video a thumbs up now that you know 10 ways to fix your car transmission system that have a jerky, hecky problem. Don't forget to share this video with some others and subscribe to my channel. Bye for now. I remain Dr. Cool. See you on my next video.